Hello, everybody. I'm Mike.
And I'm Ray. Welcome in. Know Nothing's number 43. And we've got a lot going on in the world right now.
Number 43, B. That's what we always used
Last
to
week was aliens. This week is Zuckerberg versus Elon in a blood fest. And then also, the frickin' Wagner Group has turned on Russia. We're going to really get into that. I'm really intrigued by this thing. We haven't had a good old civil war in a long time to talk about.
Oh, my gosh. That's kind of crazy. And, I didn't hear about it first on any kind of news. It was TikTok that I heard it on first.
TikTok is the news.
It is now.
Yeah.
It's the news they don't want you to hear.
Yeah, first.
First. Yeah.
And then they have to report on it.
Yeah. I think that's great because the news sucks.
Yeah.
All of it sucks. They have an agenda, and I don't care what it is. There's an agenda. It's not just like, oh, hey, this is happening. There's always some
You'd have
kind
to
of thing
find the
going with it.
one that's not bought and owned by BlackRock or one of those groups to know that they're not tainted, right? They're all so tainted.
Speaking of BlackRock, and I don't want to get too quick off subject with that, but did you see the TikToks with the kid from BlackRock talking about all that mess about Civil War's good for
Yeah.
BlackRock
It's good for BlackRock. Yeah, it's good for the stock. It's good. Wheat prices are going to jump because they're going to destroy all these wheat fields.
and silos.
So then you're going to have all these investments into wheat as the price goes through the roof.
Yeah, and it's already gone up because if we know about it, it's done.
Yeah, by the time the regular people know about something, it's too late.
Oh yeah,
It's already once it's in the news, you're behind.
that's probably, you can say that for AMC too.
Yeah, for sure. The people that got in when it went to 72, that was probably the run.
That was probably the run.
And then you and I were in on that and just didn't sell because we were like, no way, 72 is nothing.
Sold a little bit.
Yeah. I didn't sell.
No, I mean, I didn't sell. I didn't sell anything then.
Oh yeah. But I didn't sell, so and it doesn't look like that's ever gonna be anything.
Yeah.
I mean, what's it
I'm
been
gonna
out?
have to do.
What's it been? 3 years now?
I'm gonna have to do like an edit.
You're not. Dude, you worry about the silliest shit.
I worry about things.
Oh
well.
You're a worrier.
Yeah, I do worry.
Yeah.
There's things to worry about.
Yeah, it's just a movie.
It is, but the movie has consequences.
It does. The movie does have consequences. So what are going to be the consequences? Who is going to win this battle royale between Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg?
Okay, can I just right off the top of the gate before we discuss it?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say Zuckerberg.
See, my heart says Elon, my brain says Zuck.
Right.
Because Zuck's been training for years in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I hear he's pretty good.
Yeah, from people that know.
People that know fighting say that he's actually like the real deal. Now, Elon's got a move, folks, called the Walrus, if you haven't heard. It's where he just lays all 260 pounds of Musk Walrus on top of you.
His wife knows that move well.
And renders you helpless. I don't think he's got a wife anymore. That's why she left him.
Elon's wife left him?
I think they've been divorced for a few years, right?
I never even...
He has 10 kids. I know that.
10?
Mm-hmm.
I guess I don't know anything about Elon Musk except that he likes rockets and cars.
He likes to. He believes we're underpopulated, so he wants to do his part to. And that's 10 if you don't count the one he had with Amber Heard. There's a rumor that Amber Heard's baby is Elon's baby because they were having an affair at that time. Threesomes even.
I didn't even know that. With who? Who was the third?
Another girl. Elon, Amber Heard, another girl. One of Amber's friends were having threesomes. She got pregnant.
Billionaires. The things they do.
Yeah.
Speaking of billionaires and things they do.
Like getting cage fights. Like we were talking about this. So it's so bizarre that we consider it like normal. But like if 20 or 30 years ago we would have said, hey, the CEO of AT&T and the CEO of Comcast are going to be in a cage fight. Everybody like, what the fuck are you talking about? What? What are you talking? CEOs don't cage fight, but in 2023 we're like, hey, Zuckerberg and Elon got a cage fight. Like, hell yeah, they are.
I'll pay $100 to see that.
I will too.
I'll pay $100.
I don't care if there are people like, that's exactly what they want you to do. I don't care.
I want to see a fight.
I want to see it.
I want to see a fight.
It's two divisive figures in American pop culture, the richest man in the world, and I guess like the 12th richest man in the world. And they're going to cage fight, and the fighting's probably not going to be good. I mean, if you watch UFC, it's not going to be like those top guys. It's going to be like, it's going to look like a 50-something-year-old dude and a 37-year-old dude that's had a little training, it's going to look like that. That's what it's going to look like. The product won't be amazing.
But that's what's so great, I think, about it. I think that it won't be too.
But now think about that. Now wait. Now we were talking about this the other day, and we were talking about like girls and like if I would fight a girl, and I misspoke a little bit. Obviously, if it's like the most trained 195-pound girl that's like a super pro, she could probably kick a lot of dudes' ass. But in general, though, weight classes exist for a reason.
Right.
And with Zuckerberg being 149 pounds, 5'7", and Elon being 6'2", like 260. That's a huge difference.
Pretty big difference.
That's like me fighting a guy that's 300 pounds. Like, I don't want to fight a guy that's 300 pounds if I don't have to. That's just a lot to deal with. If you're 300 pounds, you don't want to fight a guy that's 400 pounds. The weight classes exist for a reason.
Right.
And let's put it in perspective. Yes, Zuckerberg does train BJJ, but he's a white belt. He's not like, which is, I mean, I get it. Like he's been training for years and he's good, but he's just a white belt. It's not like he is a purple belt or an orange belt or someone that's really advanced through the ranks. But the white belts he's fought, he's won, and he even won a Silicon Valley tournament, which is just kind of cool.
I mean, that's why I'm just saying he's going to win, because I think he's been devoted to that for so long. That
and if you're 5'7", 150, 5'7", 150, you are a little more slippery than the guy that's 6'2", 260.
True. You're a little wiry.
A little more
wily.
Yeah, you
wily.
Can move around and get good. And that's what BJJ is about giving a smaller person an advantage and taking away the whatever advantage weight would be, because you use the opponent's weight against them.
And he's saying Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, by the way, for people that don't know.
Oh, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Yeah. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
But it's going to be interesting, man. I just think it's kind of a tale to the timeline we're living in now. Just like
100%.
Every day I just get up and I'm like, this movie just gets wilder and wilder. It's just going to keep getting so ridiculous to like. So then you take that. So now you know about the Wagner Group, right? You've been following that story, which is cool. So we can talk about it. So the Wagner Group, though, I think what people might not know is like, they're mercenaries for hire. This is like 25,000 bad motherfuckers. These are like special ops guys.
Yeah.
So 3 hours ago, they were 2 hours from Moscow. So I'm assuming they're in Moscow now.
Where's Putin?
Putin flew out of the country, and he got denied. The country he flew into, which I can't remember right now, so I'm not going to say, but he flew to another country. That prime minister was like, hey, the shit you're dealing with is an internal affair. Please exit my country.
Oh, wow.
So he flew to like Poland or somewhere else. He's trying to find a place to seek refuge, which is odd.
That's odd.
Because he's telling the civilians, like, hey, you have to come out and fight these Wagner guys. But now, like, look, I think civilians and Russian troops are going to join Wagner in the overthrow.
You think Putin's done for on this? Do you think if he takes over, that's it? Everybody just falls in line?
If Wagner takes over?
Do you think we had something to do with it?
Well, we lost $6.2 billion, right? That we didn't know what happened to Ukraine. All of a sudden, it gets reported while the submarine's happening. Now, so we've got our eyes over here. We're not paying attention to the 500 refugees that died on a boat. We're watching this story for 4 days, which was an intriguing story. I watched every minute of it. All of a sudden, they're like, "Oh yeah, by the way, we don't know. We can't account for $6.2 billion that went to Ukraine." The next day, it just so happens the Wagner Group's like, yeah, Russia's paying us to fight, but we're turning on them, and we're going to fight. We're actually going back into Russia to fight them.
And it took $6.2 million to do that.
It seems like the money that got lost might
have ended up in his pocket.
Might have went to the Wagner Group, and the United States told the Wagner Group to turn on Russia and fight them.
That's straight up move from that. That's just something we do.
It's a chess move.
We do it all the time. You could name.
That is the kind of shit we do.
You go in.
We've promised
these counterintelligence.
We've promised
books.
our citizens we're not going to fight, right? We're like, well, we're not fighting in that thing. So what we do is lose $6.2 billion. Contact the Wagner Group, be like, hey, would y'all be willing to fight Russia? Well, no, we're fighting for Russia. What is Russia paying you? They gave us $1 billion. What if we gave you $6.2 billion?
Oh, it was $6.2 billion. I said million. My bad.
$6.2 billion.
Billion. I didn't think $6.2 million was enough.
$6.2 billion. So that's just enough to make you turn on the people that were originally paying you. So now Wagner Group, they said, oh, well, they bombed some of us. This was Russian generals bombing us, so we're going to kill them. But we have no way of really verifying this
Anything.
This is the other thing that's crazy about living in 2023. Nobody knows what's true.
Right. And we have all of this information at our fingertips, and you have no idea what's true. You have no idea if
You really got to dig through it.
you have no idea if they actually bombed him or not, because all of that can be made up. And now with AI, they can make up anything. They can make up videos. They can make up your voices. You can make up anything.
Putin's saying it's made up, but Putin's a known liar and a dictator and a killer. So, like, I don't ever want to side with Putin. Right. I find it insane when people do. But, you know, is he telling the truth? Or are they telling the truth? I don't know. But now there's a civil... Dude, imagine they're in the streets of fucking Moscow fighting a goddamn civil war. Like, do people understand? Like, what this? If it was in America, they would be in New York City or Washington, D.C. with like our Green Berets and Rangers fighting American soldiers to go kill our government.
Right.
That's what's happening.
Crazy.
That's what's happening.
And you hear more about it on TikTok than anywhere.
Yeah, well, I think TikTok talks about it, and then the news has to be like...
the news has to pick up on it.
You got to pick this
and
story
then they're
up.
like, how can we spin this? We got to spin this the right way.
Yeah, you can't even allude to the fact that maybe did America pay them? Yeah. I don't know. And I'm not saying America did pay them. I'm saying it smells funny. Yeah. Just like, did you...
Losing $6.2 billion, that's hard to lose.
Do you know the CEO of that OceanGate company? His wife was the granddaughter of the elderly couple that died in bed together on the Titanic.
Yeah, I knew that. And well, I'll just tell you. Well, let me just tell you this: people that are involved in the Titanic are still involved. If your great grandmother was on the Titanic and you had a possibility to be a company or be involved with a company that had something to do with the Titanic, you would do that because your ancestors died on the Titanic. I don't think that's like I don't think it's like a conspiracy thing. I just think it's like they're involved with the Titanic because of who they're.
What I do think is a conspiracy and true is how the Titanic went about and how that came to the creation of the Federal Reserve.
Oh, that's not a conspiracy. It's a conspiracy theory, but I believe
it's not a conspiracy.
100% they sank that thing because of the Federal Reserve, because the people on the boat were going to stop the Federal Reserve.
Opposed it, and the people that were for the Federal Reserve happened to not get on the boat, like J.P. Morgan Chase, just like, oh yeah, I'm getting a massage today. I think I'm going to pass on
that one.
Do you also know that it's possible that the Titanic was not the Titanic?
Oh, really?
So they had two. So check this out.
They had two of them. They had a sister ship.
They had twin boats.
Yep.
And the other one,
the Britannica, was it the Britannica?
Olympia, I think. So the Olympia had like
nothings.
Had a bunch of it had a bunch of structural damage, and they didn't have insurance on it. But J.P. Morgan owned both boats. J.P. Morgan Chase owned both boats. He had a full policy on the Titanic. So they slipped. They changed, like, they put some things to say Titanic, took Olympia stuff off of it, and some of the wreckage of Titanic still has Olympia markings on it.
Are you for real?
Yeah. And the Olympia was about to sink, but they had no insurance on it, so they were like, aha, I know what we'll do, and this will kill two birds with one stone. We'll get the insurance claim, which he did get, which was like $126 million in today's money. He got when the Titanic sunk. He wasn't on the ship. He got $126 million, and to get rid of a boat that was paid for and damaged and old.
It's just like rich folks to take a situation and make money off of it.
And then he got to create money and charge people interest to pay him back the created money, and he got the whole world to go along with it. I mean, all his sons set up banks in different countries at this time.
Yeah. They're the money coup.
I mean, I don't know how anyone could even... is there even an argument to be had that that's not true?
It's 100% true.
That's settled science,
right? You can look that up on the internet easy.
Yeah, you can look anything up on the internet. That's what.
But I'm just saying, like, I don't think anybody's going to dispute the fact that J.P. Morgan did all that.
Why don't more people know about this? Like, you and I know about it.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares about aliens. Nobody cares about. I told my dad, "Have you seen all this stuff about the government talking about it?" And he was like, "No, haven't heard a word." And I was like, just people living their lives.
Unbelievable. It's crazy.
It's unbelievable.
I bet you you think half the country even knows about the Russia Civil War thing and the
I don't think anybody knows.
I mean, some people know.
Some people know, but I don't think it's
like we'll get a couple 100,000 people that watch us talk about this.
I don't think everyone knows.
I don't think near enough people know. And I don't even think if you told people, "Hey, did you know the Titanic was sunk on purpose to create the Federal Reserve?" I think a lot of people wouldn't even know what you were talking about or what the Federal Reserve is.
Or you could say, "Hey, where did they meet to form the Federal Reserve, and they wouldn't be able to tell you, but it was on Jekyll Island.
Yeah.
They wouldn't know that either. They don't even know what most people hear Federal Reserve and think it means it's a federal, like bank. Like America.
It's a federal bank, and that's where like we keep our money.
Yeah, and it's
real
not.
Money in there.
The Federal Reserve is a fake name to make it sound like it's a part of.
To make it sound it's part of the government.
Government, and it's not. It's a privately owned business that owns the money
and and creates the money.
Creates
out
and
of
owns
thin
the
air.
money out of nothing.
Nothing.
It's a slavery system.
Which they said, and they've declassified all those documents from the presidential meetings and briefings. That's when they installed what Herbert Humphreys. What was the president's name? Humphreys? Was it Humphreys?
I don't know. I don't know.
The president when the Federal Reserve was created, he was installed by these rich men.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that.
I think it's. I forget his. Why can't I think of his name? Hubert or Herbert? Is that right?
I'm going with Herbert. But
Herbert Hoover.
Herbert Hoover.
There we go. That's what I was trying to. Yeah, Herbert Hoover.
So, I didn't know. I guessed Herbert.
I was saying Hubert. See, we don't even know. Know nothing.
I know nothing.
But
I know about the Federal Reserve.
I know that we've all been
about as federal as FedEx.
I know that we've been had.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I know we've been had.
We've been had, and like
The funny thing about it is we always talk about like, everything's just made up. Everything's made up. Money's made up. Everything's made up. The way we live our lives is made. They just made it up, and it's like oh hey, the economy's bad right now. Well,
why?
Let's say it's not.
Yeah.
Let's print more money, and then when they say, oh, that'll create inflation, let's just go, no, it won't.
No, it won't.
It won't. We just make more money. Just print more money and give money to people.
Yeah.
What? We can't do that. Why not? That's what you did in the beginning.
You made this up.
You made this up. You made everything. Or just when it goes, oh, look, the money's not working. And it's like, we're this close for the stock market to crashing. Well, don't turn it back on tomorrow.
Yeah, it's got a off and on.
You turn it off and on every day. Just don't turn it on tomorrow.
I saw a comedian talking about that. He was like, just don't. It's like leave it off.
Leave it off.
If you think it's gonna crash, why would you turn it on, dumbass? Like, what are you doing?
That's what comedian's that? Because I'm having like a total. Because I said that.
Yeah, he said. I don't know what comedian it was, but
you saw it somewhere.
Yeah, I just saw his stand up.
Yeah, that's like
that's exactly what he was talking about.
I've heard a couple people say it. Like they were like, "Well, if the stock market's if it's gonna crash on a certain day," and you're like, "Oh my God, we're so don't turn it back on." Like, what's the problem?
But literally everything's made up.
I guess if you don't turn it back on, then it really crashes.
It's like money. You never have money to help anybody, right? There's never money to help people, right? There's never money. Like if you're like, hey, there's only 2 million homeless people. We could fix it. They're like, we don't have the money for that. Oh. But if you need $11 trillion to build a new moon rocket that can be built on a drone and go to outer space, we can find that. We have money for whatever the fuck we need money for, unless it's to help people.
Yeah.
And then we're like, you don't have money for that. You don't want to be socialist. Well, everything we do is socialist.
It's all made up. We can make it up however we want. We just have some dickheads making it up right now. They have dickheads from the beginning. It's like, okay, let's create this system of control where some people get a bunch of this money and then some people have to work really hard for it.
Not some people, us. When they say us when they're creating it.
That's what I said. Okay, so the harder you work, the more money you get? No, actually, the harder you work, the less money you make.
But
that's what I'm saying. Like, if you're going to work 80 hours a week, you're not going to 40 hours, 60, 70, 80 hours a week, we're going to pay you minimum wage.
But here's where it gets really fun, Mike. We're going to tell the people that hard work pays off.
Hard work pays off.
Well, how does this money get created? That's the beauty of it. It only gets created when I hit this button and make it. Right. What makes us make it? When we give it to people as loans and make them. So we're going to give them 100,000 of these made up dollars, and they're going to pay us 240 real dollars.
Real sweat money.
Yeah,
sweat money.
And we'll call it the American dream.
You got to be asleep to believe it.
We could get them for 30. Hey, why not make a mortgage?
That's George Carlin.
Yeah,
you have to be asleep to believe.
Mortgages used to be like 5 years and like 2 years income, and it just slowly morphed to now it's 12 times income in 30 years. We could probably extend it to 40 because you might want to refi 15 years in.
Yeah.
Go ahead when it becomes worth $475. Just refi it again for 30 years, and you can pull you $200,000 out of it, and then just keep them for 50 years in this fucking cycle.
Yeah, it's just to trap you.
How did you think the next generation will fall for it? Are we getting smarter? You think like kids that are being born now are still going to keep falling for this dumb shit?
I don't.
I think we're the last ones to fall for it, right?
I don't think
millennials maybe last ones.
I don't think there's falling for it anymore. I think eventually all the J.P. Morgan will own every piece of property in the country, and you'll just have to rent from him. I think he's just own the whole thing in years to come, and they'll sell it to us as
like everybody gets a house.
Yeah, everybody gets a house. They'll sell it to us as everybody gets a house. You'll have nothing and like it. Mm-hmm. That's what they're going for.
I would actually like it if I had nothing, including no debt strangling you for life.
That'd be great, but you could do that on your own too. But
by not getting started,
you're not going to own anything.
You can do it by not getting started with the debt.
You want things though. It's like Fight Club said: the things you own end up owning you.
Yeah, you don't want things you have to. You don't want things you have to. That's the trick. You don't need things that you have to finance. That's where we got fucked.
That's crazy. Yeah, I always said when I was younger.
You need an education. You need a higher education. So I'm going to loan you $80,000. Well, could you loan me $50,000 to start a business? Oh no. You don't have the credit for that.
No, but we'll give you the money to get schooling.
We'll give you $80,000 to go to our schools and get taught what we want to teach you, and teach you how to be a good little obedient worker bee.
Right.
And you just pay this debt back. And no, you can't declare bankruptcy on this debt either, ever.
Right.
And we'll give it to you on 40-year terms, though, 30-year terms, so you can pay us interest till you're 70.
Yeah, that job that you get after getting all this education, you're just going to pay us every month for the rest of your life, the money that you owe us.
But you're going to want a house. Everybody wants a house, but really, does everybody want a house? Like, why do we want to be... I mean, I own a house, I have a mortgage, cars, and payment, all this fucking shit that I'm preaching against. But like, why would you want to be?
Well, I'm not preaching against it. I'm just, you are.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I'm not preaching against it. I like to have a home base.
If you could come up with,
but I don't own it. The bank owns it until
you
I
wouldn't
pay
rather
it off
have a
in 40
home
years.
base that was like 1 year's salary you could pay off in like 2 years.
You mean like living in a Mercedes van? I mean,
no,
I would do that.
I mean, people used to have homes, Mike. They had homes. What are you talking about?
What do you mean?
I'm talking about 1948. You could buy a home for like $3,700.
Right.
You made like $3,700,
right.
But your house was $37,000. Now somebody makes $45,000, but a house is $550,000.
Right.
That's what I'm talking about. It makes a little sense if you if it's something you could have it paid off in 3 years.
I was actually right, just timeline wrong. Everybody is renting from J.P. Morgan because there's no way you pay your house. Like eventually you get old, and like if you ever pay your house off, you just sell it again to downsize,
and then you
sell it to somebody else.
You're still paying tax.
Still rent.
They never let you get free of the taxes.
It's still rent.
If you paid it off for 30 years, if I borrowed $200,000, paid back $420,000, because that's about what it works out to. It's usually over double what you borrowed is what you pay back. I paid this back for 30 years. You're still going to charge me like $5,200 a year on taxes every year?
Yep.
How did we agree to this horse shit?
Like you wanted a house,
but
you signed the dotted line.
But what I'm saying is, when they first got us into this trap, it was like, yeah, we get them a house, but in the house they'll pay us for 5 years for a house. Oh fuck, nobody's gonna pay us for 5 years. Yeah, they will. And they just kept raising the bar, till houses are gonna be. So here's what's gonna happen. Here's what I see happening. Houses get so expensive that people are like, nobody can afford a mortgage anymore, and they're like, we've got a solution. 60-year mortgages. So now you thought you could only buy a $300,000 house. We know houses are $600,000. No problem. You can have a $600,000 loan on a 60-year payback. And so people are like, whew, thank God, I'm only paying $1,300 a month. I can afford that. I get this $600,000 house. And now you have a 60-year mortgage. So now you're tied to it till death for sure.
I went the opposite way because I bought a house smaller than what I mean. I didn't go, okay, I want this big house that I can afford. I went the opposite way. I said I want a little house
that I can easily afford. Yeah,
and that's the best way to do it is budgeting for a surplus, not a deficit. Well, I try to tell everybody that I come across that they got to budget for a surplus and they got to make.
But the problem with that is
I'm really good at budgeting money. Apparently,
the problem with that is if you live in the South like we do, the problem is in all these parts of the country where that house that you bought is $500,000. That's the problem. So I need a solution. How do you budget for a surplus if you're a working class American in all of these cities that has to buy $500,000? They have to buy a $500,000 house because that's the smallest, most frugal house available in the market. So they make $55,000 and they have to buy a $500,000 house in order to have shelter. How does that person budget a surplus?
They have to rent.
Okay, the rent is $4,000 a month.
They gotta drive to work from somewhere else. I'm just telling you, that's how it works.
Well, I know it's a shit.
I'm answering your questions, but it's reality.
But you can't budget a surplus is the reality. That's the reality.
That's true because because also when you say I can't buy a house in this area that I'm working. I got to go outside the area. So you go outside the area. Well, now hopefully you have a car. So you're also paying now for rent, a car and fuel
and insurance
and fuel to drive back and forth to work. So does that balance out or not to where you can make money?
No. It's all unsustainable. That's my whole argument is that the whole thing is completely unsustainable.
We're fucked. Good night.
We are fucked. I think we are fucked.
We are.
Like the country erodes further down the road every year.
Oh yeah.
Things get more expensive, wages stagnate, and
things get crazier.
And the world gets crazier. I just don't see.
Do you think it's always been getting crazier, and we're just at the age now where we're like shit's crazy? And
no, I think we live in an interesting time.
Yeah.
I think it's always been crazy. It's always been wild, but it's so wild now that there literally is no answer. People are like, people in America should not be working full time to live on the street. That's happening. Yeah. That's happening. You're talking about a situation where you're coming into the situation too 25, 30 years into adulthood. I'm talking about a new adult trying to enter this landscape. If I walked out at 23 in this world, I could almost see somebody going, fuck it.
Well, my nephews are getting into trucking. They're getting their trucking licenses to do trucking.
And no, that's great, but it's going to be so hard because even what people think is good money is not good money anymore. If it's $30 for 2 value meals, right?
Well, it wasn't. The girl had dyslexia.
Yeah, but
she was dyslexic. She said $32. I said, what?
Yeah, it can't be correct.
I said, you said 23.
But you remember that used to be. It's all kind of look. That 2 value meals. I'm not saying used to be. I don't mean like back in my day. I mean like in 2015. That was like $12. And the house that was $250 like in 2015 is now $400. How does it? I just don't see how. I just don't see how we sustain. It's as a society. Not I'm going to be okay, I think, and you're going to be okay, I think. But
I think
as a whole society, how do we accept this?
Who knows what's going to happen? Who knows? Shit, wheat's going to be so expensive. Let's stop eating bread.
Okay, yeah, and it's like, well, milk's $13 a gallon, and so then the answer is gonna be like, well, you got to budget a surplus. You're like, well, I just want to have some.
Well, you just got a budget to live.
Well, yeah, or so
budgeting a surplus is for people that make a lot of money that don't buy.
Make a lot of money. That's so it'd be equivalent to somebody that somebody had $1 million and they bought a $400,000 house. Cool, no problem. It's that people don't make $1 million on the whole. Right. They're making 33 to 75, 80, 100 maybe. Let's call it 110. But that person, somebody making $80,000 can't really buy a $450,000 house. The bank will approve them for it, but they can't really do that and live. They're bringing home like $4,500, $5,000, right? And your mortgage is $3,800.
They don't give you a mortgage if that's the case.
That's not true. That's really? Not true. No, dude. When I was buying my first house. When I was building my second house.
No, they do all the math, and if you don't have a certain amount of income, you can't buy a house.
I know, but the math is not correct. The math makes you broke. Like where you can't.
Well, that's why I bought a smaller house.
I understand you did. I'm talking about society as a whole. Like I'm not talking. Like your situation is how it should be. That's like, oh yeah, I could pay this and have all this extra money, and this is blah blah. I'm talking about they approve people. It could be. I think was it 50% or 45% of their income.
Yeah. Also, here's something that I also do. I read a book by Robert Kiyosaki called Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah, yeah.
And I took a lot of advice from that book. My brother gave me that book. And I read this book, and he said, don't buy anything that doesn't make you money.
Right.
So
buy assets.
The vehicle that I bought makes me money. It's a long bed truck and of course, I'm special to it because I've been in the trucking industry for 25 years. So when there's something little for me to run around with in my truck, I go grab it with my pickup truck.
Yeah.
But instead of buying a Porsche, you know,
Well, these people-
or like a
people-
Charger or something.
I think we're having
went-
conversations from 2012, though. I think all of this was relevant in 2012. These people, the world I'm talking about in America, these people aren't buying Porsches. That's
I know people that are buying Porsches.
I know. I think you're missing the broader context. I'm not talking about Porsche buyers. I'm talking about people. I'm talking about people that should be middle class.
Look,
that
I'm
are
not
poor.
trying to come off sound like an asshole.
No,
because
you're
I'm not rich at all. I just can budget my money and not buy the $5 Starbucks every day. Would I want to? Yeah, of course I want to. Starbucks. I live 2 minutes from a Starbucks. I'd love to get up every morning and get a Starbucks, but I don't because it's like you buy a Starbucks every day. That's hundreds of dollars a month.
Okay,
So
but we're not talking about people with $150
Well,
a
I'm
month
talking
gap.
about me budgeting.
Yeah. We're not. That's what I think. That's where the conversation's missing. We're talking about people. How does a person budget if their rent is $2,000 because that's the cheapest rent you can get in those cities in America, and they live there, and their rent is $2,000 and groceries are what they are, and they make $45,000. I'm saying the middle class is supposed to be like most of the country, and it's becoming a sliver of the country where middle class is like this is becoming privileged. That's not the way it should be. That's the argument I'm making.
And remember that, both both people have to get a job just to make.
You want a
To
big
make it. Remember, like in the 50s and 60s,
the
and
80s
70s?
and 90s.
And it was just
My wife stayed at home
Yeah.
early.
Yeah.
I mean, and I had a house and 2 cars. You could not do that. Like a 24-year-old could not do that. No way a 24-year-old now could do what I was doing.
Well, we've also babied our 24-year-olds.
I didn't. Did you?
Well, no, but I'm just saying, like that society. But
what does that have to do?
makes them
But
a
what does that
baby.
have to do with such a wide gap in inequality and how things are? Like
Inequality
of the middle class used to be like this, and the middle class is now like this. You're telling me all of these people, it's their fault? They bought too much Starbucks. They bought too much avocado toast. Like
you're not going to tell me that people don't overspend on bullshit?
Yeah, they do. But I'm saying when our middle class has shrunk from here to here, where did all these people go? You're telling me the past like 30 or 40 years, millions of people evaporated from the middle class. Where did
No.
they go? You think
They're
that is
still there?
No,
but
they're
not
not
middle class.
They're not middle class. They're poverty class.
Yeah, now they can use government programs to
They
subsidize
can't
their
get
income.
government programs. They're making $55,000 or $60,000, and they're now in poverty.
Well, we need to pump up those government programs. Whoops.
No, you don't. I guess what I'm saying is like it's not a budgeting issue. It's not a budgeting issue. It's
Who do you know that has had that problem personally?
everyone. I mean, I know hundreds of people that has
Really?
everyone. Pretty much everyone that's not everyone that's not in 160,000 or above is living. That's the life they're living. Every single person I know, it's way harder than it was for their parents. Way harder.
Oh yeah, I agree with
and
that.
this is a billionaire class that has sucked all the money to themselves and evaporated the American middle class. That is the problem. They are the fucking problem, not the 25-year-old.
Well, just wait. It's gonna get worse.
But the problem is
Once the billionaires replace everybody with robots to make your hamburgers, when you're driving down the road and you pull over to get a McDonald's hamburger, those jobs won't be there either. Even though those jobs don't pay a rent.
The argument is the 25-year-old. It's not their fault for buying Starbucks. That the billionaire class is. That the billionaire.
I know
class
that. I'm just saying. If we took a poll of how much a 25-year-old girl spends on Starbucks, 20 to 25.
Okay.
How much money a month do they spend on Starbucks? You'd probably be shocked.
I probably would. I wonder what the answer is.
It's a lot. I'm just gonna tell you, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
I'm gonna tell you, it's a lot.
Yeah. But do you think that
It's enough to maybe pay your. It's enough to maybe help.
Let me
pay some insurance.
Let me ask you this: does it concern you at all that in the United States of America we're having a real conversation about a cup of coffee a day being too large of a luxury for someone to have? In the United States of America, we're making the argument.
100%.
We're making the argument that coffee
used to be 25 cents or free.
So
or free with your meal.
You're getting there. You're getting there.
Yeah.
You're getting there. You're getting to where I'm trying to get you.
I'm getting you. Okay,
Yeah. So
reel me in. Reel me in.
So coffee used to be 25 cents. Coffee is still coffee. So $7 or $5 is the new 25 cents. $400,000 is the new $100,000,
Right.
and this is the problem.
Right.
This is where they have collapsed the middle class. That's
Right.
where they killed us.
Well, that's what
because
I'm saying.
coffee is coffee. Somebody should be able to go buy a coffee like that should be like throwaway money because that's all it is. It's throwaway money. It's a cup of coffee. It used to be a nickel. It's 50 cents or $1 or whatever. It's throwaway money. But we're now having to have a conversation where we're like, coffee in America is such a luxury that if you opt to have coffee every day, you are spending too much money.
If you opt to have Starbucks every day, you pay $150 or more. That's just $5. So every coffee I ever hear anybody get at Starbucks, when I pull in, they're like, "Let's pull in a Starbucks." I get their black coffee, which is like $3.
Yeah.
When you start getting, mocha choca choppa, all this stuff, and keep the thing on it and do all this to it, it ends up being like $5.50.
Yeah.
So you think? So if you go, every day, Monday through let's say just Monday through Friday, and you spend $5.50, it's $110 you're spending on coffee.
But a man or a woman in 1952 could go have coffee every day, and no one ever said this person shouldn't be drinking so much coffee. That's why they're in their financial woes.
Well, I'm just telling you, young people don't have a lot to budget with, and if they're budgeting $110,
even young people could go spend $2 a month on coffee, right?
$2,
whatever it was then.
Okay.
They could go drink coffee every day, and no one said, "Did y'all see James? You know James has had coffee every fucking day."
But also coffee
at the diner.
But this coffee has made people feel special. It makes you feel like a rock star when you go get coffee at Starbucks. Or it used to. Now it's gotten to normal where it's just like that's what it costs. But before it was like, "Ooh, Starbucks, it's from, fucking Seattle, and I'm a cool hipster, and I'm gonna go get my coffee."
Cool. There were cool people that, like, I guess we're off here. Like,
no, we're not off. We're not off. We're on.
Then somebody could go have coffee every day, and it was never a topic of conversation because it was that should be a normal luxury that any person in America could afford. Does that make sense? Does that make sense?
I drink Brookshire cake cups.
Does that make what I'm saying?
Yes, it makes
Brookshire's
sense.
or Star. What
It makes
I'm
sense.
saying, it's such a small amount of money.
It's not.
It should be because it's just coffee and $5.
But it's not.
But $5 because $5 is the new 50 cents. Because what else can you get with $5? Nothing. A candy bar.
People should act their wage.
That means you can't have coffee.
You can't have
candy.
Starbucks coffee.
So so you can go get coffee that's $4.79.
You make coffee at home. You can buy a whole bag of coffee for what you're gonna. You know how much $105 worth of Folgers crystals would be.
So this person's in abject poverty.
So you think people should just be able to buy Starbucks coffee?
Yeah, fuck yeah, I do.
Starbucks?
Fuck yeah.
Starbucks?
I think in America, the richest country in the world, every citizen ought to not even think about coffee. If they want coffee, they just get coffee.
Yeah, go get the cheap coffee.
Coffee. It's all relatively
our
cheap.
society has made things in tiers. Like, here's the cheap bullshit that cheap bullshit people buy. Mm-hmm. Here's the middle tier stuff that they don't want to drink the cheap bullshit because they sweep it off the floor. But this actually comes off the tree. And then you have somebody making your coffee in a franchise that costs $5.50 when all the and it's like everybody wants to be the guy who gets the expensive.
My argument is expensive coffee is. There's an argument being had in America right now that citizens are selfish. They have nothing, and they're selfish because they want too fine a coffee.
Yes, 100%.
That's an insane argument to me.
It's a metaphor. It's a metaphor
for what?
For what you just said.
It's
a metaphor. People want the expensive coffee. It's a metaphor. Everybody wants a $1,500 iPhone. Everybody wants, and guess what? You're right. J.P. Morgan's right there, and to give you loans to buy phones and to buy everything else. But then when it comes down to say you could save $150 a month, but you're still going to Starbucks.
But I'm saying, so if coffee is $5,
I get it. The coffee argument we've been having for 15 minutes.
It's a good one though.
It's a good one, but it's not about coffee.
But it is.
It's a metaphor. It's a metaphor for the real problem with our whole country, and that's advertising.
Yeah, you can't have everything you want.
Everybody wants everything.
You can't have everything.
You can't have everything.
You can't have everything.
And what advertising does to us is it makes us think that we're less than if we don't get the Starbucks. If we go to we go to Walmart and we buy the cheapest K-cup they have for the Keurig that you bought that you have at home, but you still go to Starbucks and get your coffee, even though you've got a coffee maker at home. That is the problem. And then the whole problem, you're right. Like,
I'm saying
what it cost before, what it cost before to live is completely insane to what it costs now.
Yeah,
and it really sucks because
the middle class is squeezed to nothing, and
it's squeezed to nothing, and they will be gone. The middle class will be gone one day, and you'll have the haves and have-nots. It's a third world country. We'll be living in a third world country.
That's where we're heading. That's my whole
100%.
That's my whole point.
And I'm just saying we're doing it to ourselves too, to a point.
But I'm saying as a society, we're more apt to go after the 25-year-old working 2 jobs that can't afford a home and say the reason you can't afford a home is because you drink fancy coffee. And we don't even talk about the billionaires.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's something. It's you could probably save some money on. You could throw everything in there. You could throw vaping, cigarettes. I know I sound like an old boomer right now, but I'm not. But it's like, you know, you do all these extra things, drinking and all this stuff. Let's say you're 21 years old. You're like, I can't afford rent. I can't afford this and I can't afford that.
And you're smoking and drinking all the time. Yeah,
You've got a $150 cart vape in your hand while you're drinking a Starbucks coffee, and then you're like, I got to go buy $30 juice for my vape. It's like, and like go to the liquor store later and get, you know, the priorities. The priorities on people are all set off. I'm not saying if they stopped all that they could afford their rent.
Then they would have no. Then they're in poverty and they get nothing.
And they get nothing.
So anything that brings you joy is you being a selfish fucking Gen Z. Anything that makes you happy makes you. That's kind of what you're saying.
Not what I'm saying. I'm saying that you're doing things that you don't have to do.
Well, of course, I'm trying to have some joy in my life because I have no money. I'm trying to figure out how to pay rent. And yeah, of course, I want to.
Well, here's the thing about being a 21-year-old. You're 21 years old. Enjoy that.
Yeah.
You're inside work.
Let's make the person 33 then.
Fuck all day and night.
Let's make the person 33 then. Like, you know, we're the real problem. Like, I just think that they have extracted. There's only so much money.
I'm 100% with you. But in fact of having an argument on a podcast, we just can't go, oh yeah, I agree. Oh yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I gotta butt heads with you a little bit.
I like the counterpoints.
You gotta do counterpoints, or we just be like, what do you think? I agree. On to the next thing. You know, there is, you got to agree with me though that I completely understand that it's totally fucked up the way that inflation, people have made this amount of money and inflation went like this.
Yeah.
And billionaires didn't give anybody any raises.
They took all the money.
And they took all the money. They took everybody's pensions. They bought other business. I know. I know. They bought other businesses and tried to take people's retirements away from them after they retired.
Yeah,
they're retired people being retired and old, and they can't do anything. And they buy a company and they send them a letter saying, "We're not sending you retirement anymore because it's not in our budget." And it's like, you got to fight. Then you've got to get a lawyer and fight that and keep your retirement. It happens all the time. I get it.
Then you have to fight. Then you have to fight against your parents and grandparents being convinced by these corporations that it's your fault because you ate avocado toast. That's the fucking insanity. You have to fight the corporations, and then the corporations have brainwashed the other people who already have the shit that it's your fault.
Well, look, you're retired, but did you ever think about not getting that Starbucks every other day?
Yeah. Go take a boomer's Social Security and their pension. Be like, hey, you're not getting this, or you're only getting half of this. We're gonna change it. We're taking half your money.
They tried to take my dad's.
Okay, well, imagine what he would have thought if they would have said, well, you drink Folgers, and you could just be brewing. You could be brewing this coffee that's $1.99, and you're brewing coffee that's $3.99.
You know, there's a coffee we sweep up off the street.
You don't really need the whole $1,700 a month. We were promising you. $800's fine. If you would learn how to budget, they would riot.
Oh yeah. Well, they did that to the boomers.
What's that?
They did. They tried to take away They're tough.
Well,
they had to fight it.
They
did
brain-
it to my dad. My dad had to fight it.
Yeah, they brainwashed him into.
Because some company bought a company, and they were like, "Look at all that." Some egghead,
I think
dirtbag was like, "Oh, look at all these retired people that have worked 45 years for this company before we bought it. We don't have any loyalty to them. Let's send them all letters and say, we're taking your retirement."
So
what kind of a world is that?
Did your dad get a lawyer?
I think so, because he
ended
beat
up-
it.
yeah.
I think it's completely against
My
the
dad
law.
ended up taking a lump sum, but see, none of that stuff exists for us.
No,
we're
none of
not
that.
getting lump
We're
sums
not
or
getting-
salaries for life.
No, me and my brother are always like, we're gonna work and we'll be on the until we're dead. We'll be like working to be like, ugh.
What's going to be my goal is
There's
to
no retirement.
is to get my goal is to
Like
have
I said,
expenses as low as possible, get rid of all debt, and just live and hope I can live on $800 or whatever, not have to work a bunch, because I'm working till I'm 1,000.
Right. I am really worried about getting older and working, but I can work from my phone as long as the country stays stable and my job stays the way it is.
Well, everything changes, so nothing.
Everything changes, but
the world's constantly changing. I mean, I feel like all this is going to shift too. I just feel like people have about had it. You don't feel like there's a sense of
I feel like people have had
like people are kind of like,
with
man,
this
fuck
bullshit."
this.
Like I had it when I think we all have this epiphany as before we become a man, because I was like, why is everything set up so hard to like make things happen?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
It's like, why is it like that?
And I've
Dad?
continued to think
And
it on a
Dad was
deeper
just
level.
like,
It just
get
is.
to work.
It's the way it is.
You just gotta work hard, and when you work hard, you make money.
When you work hard, you get more work.
My dad did work hard his whole life for 45 years, and then he retired. And he
Yeah.
retired really well.
Every-
it worked out for him because he was in that generation when he started.
Exactly.
If
Well,
he wouldn't have
people-
had that retirement when he was working, when he was 20 years old at this place, they were throwing back money on him for his retirement, so he retired good.
What people don't understand is it's not like people stopped working hard in 1988 or something.
Right, I
they've
know.
continued to work hard. The generation millennials right now work more hours and more jobs than any other generation
More
in history,
more stress.
and have nothing. And it's just it's not right. It's unsustainable. I don't see how just because like if you're in a good spot or I'm in a good spot, like people are in good spots, and then there's people that are really rich and they're in great spots.
Yeah.
I just think we're ignoring a large swath of the country that's in a real
problem
pickle.
And I think that there's a mentality of, well, thank God it's not me.
There is, of course, that's 100% what the problem.
And I'm fine with what I got. I may not be able to go buy, the new Corvette, but I'm eating food and I have a house and I've got this. So sorry, other people. I'm making
And even
my mark.
with all that, if you got down to it, if you really got honest with yourself and you got super honest with yourself, you'd be like, you know what? Fuck, that's not fucking enough. We all say it's enough because it makes us feel better. This
Right,
is enough.
you're right.
I'm having this is a.
Well, here's the thing about me. Okay?
I say I don't need anything because it makes me feel better. I'm good with because
Over the years, I've acquired a lot of shit that I like. Look around this room.
Oh, yeah.
I like computers and music equipment.
But if you could charter a jet to your own island, you would like that too.
Sounds like a hassle to me.
But if you could do, okay, let's pick something else big. If you could do that, that would be ideal.
Something big.
Yeah, you'd want to be able to just do it. Like that would be more. That would be. This is good, but that would be great.
I've always had a problem. Okay, well, I've always had a problem with the comings and goings of things because I don't like to. I like to go to baseball games in Atlanta when I lived in Atlanta, but I hated driving, parking, and leaving.
Yeah.
I love going to concerts. I hate parking, walking in, standing in line, standing there, then leaving.
Yeah.
That is the 100% reason why I don't go to more concerts.
Yeah.
Is because of
The hassle.
The hassle.
Yeah.
The hassle. So you're not going to get me on that. I think what you could possibly get me on would be if I could afford a house with a recording studio, this studio,
A $3 million, $5 million house.
had a pool out back.
You would want to be able to do that like at that.
I'd want to do that.
That would be better. So I'm saying
Because I'm just going to stay at
We
home
all
and
say-
do all this stuff.
we all say, because I am. I'm like you are too. Like I'm content and I have what I need because I do because I've made myself content with this because I know.
Well, you got to be happy. You
gotta be-
You can't be miserable about what you don't have.
Yeah, that would be a shitty way to live.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah, we have way more than most.
And
so-
there's plenty on the internet when you're scrolling through. It's like, God damn it, why does everybody have a badass looking kitchen? And my kitchen just looks like a normal kitchen.
Yeah, like
that aggravates me. That's
No-
something that aggravates me. Because I'm just like, look at these people have this kitchen. This kid's such a nice kitchen.
Well-
Oh, well, I like my kitchen.
it's like everybody on the internet. Everybody on the internet's a millionaire. Everybody bench presses 350 pounds. Everybody has $1 million kitchen. Everybody has a Ferrari. That's what that's fucked people up for sure.
Look, we're lucky that we're the age we are where we realize that. But these younger
well,
people
we were adults.
that
We
scroll
grew
through
up-
the internet, they're depressed because they don't have all that
We
shit.
grew up with we were adults when the internet came a thing, and then we just had our whole adulthood with the internet, but none of our childhood.
Right. So no telling. Like, I can't even imagine being a child flipping through that and be like, oh, look, one day I'm gonna have like a $250,000 sports car.
Because the Island Boys got one at
That's
20, or young whoever, or little whoever.
Did you see the picture? Speaking of the Island Boys, did you see the picture of them younger on the island with Epstein?
No, it's got to be
The
photoshopped.
Island Boys.
No.
It makes sense. And then
they would only been like they'd have been like 15. They'd have been children too.
No, they were they were young.
So they were
was
being
with a bunch of
trafficked.
kids.
So
Yes.
they were being trafficked.
So like the thing is where
I-
they call themselves the Island Boys. You got to look it up and
Are
see
you
if it's been
sure?
debunked. But it looks like them in the
don't-
picture. And then what do you think? Because they were on the island,
Man, they would have been
being
so
molested,
young. They'd have been.
dude, they were. You don't think they were messing around with super young kids on that island?
So you think
Scumbags?
y'all? They're saying that the Island Boys say they've never met Jeffrey Epstein.
Did they say that?
Yeah.
Well, of course they say that because he gave them millions of dollars through acting like
Oh.
that shitty song they
This
had
is-
gave him the money
This
when
is
it
him
didn't.
with this is him with kids on these two kids.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. They kind of resemble him.
kinda.
Fly Soldier tells TMZ he and his twin brother Kodiak Red have seen the viral photo, but the kids in the image are not them.
Well, I would say that too if if I had a bunch of money.
Oh,
from them.
here are the Island Boys as kids. But they're much smaller.
Those don't look like them.
That's them. That's actually them.
Yeah. What do you think?
I mean-
let me get a verdict on that.
I would say. I mean, it's fun to say yeah, it's them, but it's probably not. I don't think
It's not fun because then they would have been molested out the rear.
Well, no. I'm saying it's fun to talk about because like it's the Island Boys. If it's,
I
it's
hope
the
it
top.
wasn't them, but it's funny that it makes sense because they call themselves the Island
They
Boys.
probably planted that story to get it started,
get traction.
to get traction again because they fell all the way off.
fall off.
They fell all the way off. I
Yeah.
mean, you can't have. That's the thing about the internet. They got famous for like 7 months because people were laughing at you. But
At
once
them.
they're done laughing at you, you have no talent.
no
to
talent
fall
to
back
back
on.
anything up.
It's different. People find you and then they be like, oh shit, this person's got this crazy talent to juggle or dance or sing or whatever it is. They had no talent. So the fall off, he got arrested. One of them got arrested yesterday though for beating his girlfriend or something. They had the video of that. They had the cop.
Just
cam.
let me beat you so we can get on the internet, so we can get on the news.
I-
Okay, go ahead and beat me.
That wouldn't surprise me. Well, he was even calling her from like, babe, why you say I hit you? La, la, like sitting in the cop car, and I was like, this feels weird. Like,
Feels like it's staged.
yeah,
I think everything's staged.
all the world's
I
indeed
think
a stage.
All the world's a stage, and we are but players. That's food for thought. All right, we're out.
Are we out already?
Are we out?
Yeah.
It's been an hour, huh?
I don't know. Okay,
We'll
see
keep
ya.
it going.
We'll see. We'll do another one. We got to get your music out.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. He's got a new song. Look for it in 30 days.
All right.
All right, bye.
Bye.